How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Very
So
well.
I'm not the Chantal that shared the last Sunday. She had shared about her daughter. I'm not the same Chantal. When she shared, I wanted to share. I wasn't sure if it was okay or so I let it go. And then I remember you had said that sometimes the questions are just like from the ego and you just wait and then they'll just resolve themselves or go, something like that. That's what I understood. But there's something that keeps coming back for me, and it's something about cities. You know, city like occult cities. Like how do you say it? Cities.
Yep, yep.
So I have some concerns with that um, myself, but it's not something that I sought in this lifetime or that I went after. Like I was just born with these things around me, and it's been a very difficult, isolating, and it's something that I'm trying to move away from, but it's there. And and as I've listened to a lot of your, I listen to you on video, and I hear when you talk about it, that, and Ramana Maharshi has said also that it's not something that you really want. It's not necessary. It's not an advantage or anything like that. And it's sometimes a disadvantage. And that's what I'm finding. But I don't know how to channel that. So just treat it as a thought and just like just to ignore it, like just not pay attention to it. And that's what I've been doing. But it's a bit. I'm still seeking about that. I'm still uncomfortable with that. Right? It's very very isolating. Like you don't relate to people very often
Can you explain me a
because
bit
of
more in detail? What do you mean by siddhi or occult power? Can you explain it?
Cindy, well, when I was, since I was little, like seeing energy, being able to go places. When I was young, I would be like out of body, seeing things that were frightening, trying to explain to my parents. My parents had no idea about such things. It was just relief. Nobody around me knew, like things you talk with people, getting the chills, seeing something, getting an insight about something about them, um, transferring energy, like being able to throw energy, right? Like if you throw a stone, but instead of throwing a stone, like you can actually throw symbol or energy, like things like that. So having an ability to do that, like really young, but not having any explanations about what it was and not really wanting that, like it's not something that I want. And but it's caused me some concerns. It's really hard to verbalize because I don't want to talk about it. But
You said this all
it's
was happening in young days and you had no clue
very
what was going.
young. Like I hear people when I try to relate to people, like if I try to relate to people that say, "Oh, I developed these," it wasn't developed. I never asked for it. It just happened really, really early. It was so bad that my teenage brothers used to call my bedroom the voodoo room, and they
So, what
used
is
to
the
bring
issue
their
now? If we can cut short this story, can you tell me what
yeah.
is the issue now? What is the problem now?
The issue is like how to channel that, like how to treat that when it comes about. So it's just you treat it as a part of your mind. It's just part of the mind. It's the same. It's no different, right? It doesn't. It's not real. It's imagination. It's what is that? I'm just curious. What would Ramana say about that? He would just say, like from what I've read, he'd say it doesn't matter, right? It's just not something that, it's no big deal. That's what he would say. Just live with it and just ignore it, right? Basically.
Look, the simple thing is everyone has a siddhi, everyone has
Yeah.
power. Everyone, not even one single person on this earth is without siddhi. What
Okay.
do you mean by siddhi? Like this is also siddhi. Some people are accomplished musicians, some are artists, some are painters, some are
Okay.
vocalists.
Okay.
This all is
Right.
siddhi. Some people are born. This is a gift born. Some people can't sing, and some people are so melodious even without training. So all these are, you can call them powers, but it is the same thing. Some people have more extra senses power of things, and you can call it siddhi. But if we have no attachment to, or we don't take pride in any of these things, we can be humble and we can be fine, and that's all. It's not a big deal. But if we take it as something of our resume that, look, I have got it, then even a small siddhi, small knowledge can be dangerous for us if we take it to our ego. But if we can do an astral travel, we can read minds, all these things, but we don't nurture our ego by those powers, then there's no issue. Issue is only how you take things in your life. If you take anything with the boosting of your ego, then it is an issue. So it is not at all an issue unless you understand that it is just an extension of your other powers of your mind. It's not a big deal at all. And sometimes we take pride in these to demonstrate it, and we can be very popular, and then we can attract a lot of people around us. But at the end of the day, are you happy? Are you contented? Are you with your ego or without ego? So, in that sense, it is dangerous and an obstacle if it is boosting your ego, it is giving you pride. I have to tell you one thing, there are a lot of sadhus and sages who have a lot of siddhis, and they never discuss, they never tell. And sometimes, even when you see things happening around them because of those powers, they deny that they are doing anything. Same thing was with Bhagavan. So many things happened in presence of Bhagavan, but he he never ever actually put down or boasted about them or even talked about them. Rather, I would say he so many times denied it, or he just kept quiet. So my suggestion is, it's not a big deal. It's not even a deal. Why should we talk about it? Because talking about these things, that means we have some interest in it, and it is taking us from the path of just simple living of presence. And same thing, I'll tell you about life. In life, we all have success and failures, and successes, we all want success, and success actually boosts our ego in a way. But success and failure, if we just witness as it comes and goes, then there's nothing else to be done. So I don't think one should be even bothered about any of these powers. Everyone has a power. Jennifer Knoll wish to ask a couple of questions. Yes, go ahead. Jennifer. Can you unmute yourself?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was saying that the host needed to unmute me, so there's a sign that came up. Okay, so I was just wondering, so it like, okay, so how do I say this? So when I'm trying to stay as a witness like throughout the day, I'm noticing that or I was just curious about, because it takes it takes effort in the beginning, right? Like eventually it kind of, sometimes it feels effortless, and it's supposed to ultimately be effortless. But I was wondering if, like sometimes it's a little harder, or it seems to be harder. Like if I'm sleepy, or like if like cause like energy shifts, like physical things. So I was wondering if that means that maybe, and at those times I need to be like, maybe I'm doing it wrong, or if I need to be doing something differently to kind of so that it's not as like, instead of being effort, I'm just sort of like observing being sleepy. Or do you get what I'm saying?
Look, if you're sleepy, then sleep. There's nothing else to
Oh,
be done.
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you are sleepy, then just sleep. And the cycle of sleep and then dream and then waking, you can just do it when you're awake. So when you're sleepy, the body needs to sleep. So just sleep. Why to resist that sleep? You don't have
What
to
about
witness your sleep. You just go. If the sleep is coming, just sleep.
well, if there's like physical things that are making me feel more distracted than normal, or more like how do I put it? Like sometimes it's harder than other times to like, because in the beginning, am I right? In the beginning, it requires effort. Like you're ultimately, it's like effortless, but in the beginning, you're kind of putting in an effort, right?
So what do you mean by physical problems? Like physical pain in the body does not allow you to be witness to things?
Um, let's see. Like like say I come home from work and I just feel kind of like, yeah, just like tired from, like mentally strained, so that like if I'm, like right now it's sort of like feels a little more effortless to just sort of like observe myself talking or something, it's like a little, but then like if there's like other times when it feels more like I'm trying to do something, like I'm pushing myself to like do this thing, like it's harder to, it would be like doing exercise or something, but it feels like a mental exercise. And I know it's not supposed to be like the mind, but like it feels like I have to like put effort into it instead of it being like, do you get what I'm saying?
So when you say you witness, what do you try to witness? That's what I want to understand from you. In your practice, when you're saying you're witnessing, what are you witnessing? What do you understand what is witnessing and what is acting at ego level? Do you understand the difference between the two?
Um, I think I do, like it keeps shifting. Like sometimes what seems like ego, like sometimes it just kind of experiencing like being, like observing whatever, like kind of the flow of attention. I haven't got like, sometimes like I'm trying to connect with that like kind of silence within, like, that you talk about, and I've gotten to the point where I can sometimes do that to a degree, but like it feels, other times it just feels like I'm trying to do it, like, I'm trying to, and then it's less about like, sometimes that connection isn't as strong, and it's more just me trying to remember to like, okay, I feel sad right now, so like I'm just gonna observe sadness, or if I'm walking, so I'm just gonna observe myself walking, like I'm just like, and then I observe myself thinking while I'm walking, like it just sort of, and then like I just try to like keep sort of backing up, like who's doing the observing or who's doing the thinking, so like that's how I've been approaching it, just like it's not like one thing.
So when we talk about witnessing, the process is coming back from the ego mode, like taking away energy from it. Because what thoughts are all about body only. This body consciousness that I am the body brings thoughts to us. It's all about talking about your own ego self, doing this, doing that, interaction, likes, dislikes, all this nonsense, continuous. Sometimes it makes sense to you, these thoughts, sometimes they don't make any sense to you, but they are constant noise in the head. And I'll tell you, this noise in the head is not that it is just coming from an external source. We have invested in this noise. Right now, maybe not. In the past, because of our attractions to things, repulsion to things, our desires, our fear, our conditioning in our life, the way we have moved, this all has created all this. Witnessing is now you are finding that stillness within you, and that movement, that noise, you're not giving energy to it. When you don't give your energy to it, energy means your own interest in it. That is what witnessing is. It's not any paranoid way of observing thoughts all the time and actions of the body and the movements of the body or emotions coming. Yes, all these come and you can observe. But that is not what the intention is, to keep observing like a paranoid and watching the hand is moving, now my hand is moving, now I'm thinking, now my thoughts I'm watching. It is, I think, this is what a lot of people do, and then it becomes so tiring, because how long can you be like this, watching what? So it is then actually what it becomes is that ego mode only, that mind only makes you as a witness, and then watching itself. It's all within the domain of that. But we have some beautiful presence in which everything unfolding is just observed. But it is not any strong witnessing deliberately to watch everything. Because if you are just in a pure presence, things, whatever unfolding, body sensations, body is tired, feeling sleepy, everything will happen with the body. But you, the one who is witnessing, will have no interest in these things, but not even disinterest. So, whatever happening is accepting as it is. Everything unfolds. Sun rises, sun sets, things change, situations change, feelings change. Sometimes we have more energy, sometimes less energy. The questions of that I'm not able to do, this all is coming from that mind only. And it can be very tiring the way you are describing me, because there's no need to be that strong in that holding on all the time. We don't have to hold on to anything, we just have to release our grip from that doership mode. More you start looking into that stillness in your heart, your mind also settles. Because nobody wants argument, nobody wants stress, nobody wants to prove a point. And that is what the ego is. Ego is like one who is always on the go, while that stillness has nothing to prove, nothing to say. It is our pure presence. Once you understand that, then your energy will not go into all the nonsense talk we do with people, gossiping, and sometimes we gossip with our own self. The talk keeps going in the mind. Other times we do it with people. Sometimes people brings gossip to us. The body is suffering, they have a story to tell, they want some solace from you, or they want to tell you how strong they are in spite of all this situation. They're still standing tall. All this is just noise. But in spite of whatever is happening in your own story, with others' story, once you understand this is stillness within you. And so it is very important that we all should have some time for solitude in which you are just with your own self. Even if it is 10 minutes, 15 minutes, in which you can drop your mobile phone, all the talks, everything, and just be in a quiet room or in a park or somewhere you're just on your own and just be that. But it is not possible to be alone because the mind is always there. But at least now, from here, you can contemplate that. Can I stay with this noisy mind, but in my own stillness? And when you start recognizing that stillness within you, the mind which troubles, the mind which takes you into different situations in which you feel entangled, that also starts noticing that silence. So I would say, rather than we all think that one day mind will be still and then I will know the stillness. We are beyond mind. We are not the mind. And mind is nothing but thoughts. And these thoughts will continue incessantly if you have interest in them. So, how to switch off? Finding that place in your heart, in your solitude. And again, I have to point here while you are asking me, because Western mind is always doer, and that doership never goes even in spirituality, because it says, I can do it, I can put efforts, and I will be that. I would say, have faith in that power within you. And that faith brings that knowledge outwardly. Belief is not that strong word. Faith is the one which does. And faith brings grace to us. And grace does everything. Because all what we talk about efforts and witnessing is all at the domain of mind only, doership. Perhaps it is the first step, but it cannot get you there. You put efforts to be pulled by that grace. That's all. Grace does everything. Grace of whom? Grace of that pure self, which knows how much you're putting struggle to be that. And it has mercy on you in a way. And it reveals you your own true self. You know, if you see all Bhagavan devotees, they call devotees not students or disciples, because they are all looking for that grace, kripa, mercy. And that grace that happens, that knows when it has to happen to person. There are two aspects to it. One is, have we blocked all the holes through which all this grace is leaving us? Like we are still selfish, egoistic person? Are we only thinking about me? And this me has come into spirituality? And then we are boosting our ego in spirituality? Or are we becoming more human, more humble? Humility is filling us? Or we are more feeling proud of being that? So this inner journey is mystical. And the one who has surrendered completely to the destiny of this body as it will happen will be in perfect peace. Otherwise, all the time these thoughts coming, let me do this, financial issues, disease of the body, disease of the mind, situations around me, Sometimes there is no issue, but the mind will say, I have to maintain this, so I need to do this, otherwise this will happen. Fear of losing what we have gained materialistic in this life. And because we only know that, even in spirituality, we bring that doership, that I will do, I will put efforts, and I will do this, and I will do that. I will tell you, these efforts are to know that we can't do anything. We do it to get that grace. And when that grace dawns, it does everything to us. So, what happens with that faith? Some knowledge dawns on us, some stability comes to us, and we don't start flickering again as a candle in wind. We become more still, and then situations can be drastic, but you have no association, you have no recognition yourself as body mind. You just merge in that self, that awareness. This process happens internally. This process also helps in a way from external means, like reading a book, attending a satsang, contemplating on your things. That internal comes as external to help you. So feeling of gratitude will help you. Feeling of surrender will help you. The more we are strong with our ego, more we have this doership, that I will do it and this is the method. And let's do self-inquiry and all. I'll tell you, all these methods are only to make you receptive to that grace, nothing else. And so sometimes bhakti marg, the path of devotion, is more easier because it starts with surrender. You praise Lord, you become a devotee, and that helps to melt away your ego. And with that melting of the ego, the knowledge dawns on you. In path of knowledge also, devotion, surrender is very important. You know, people take non-duality as a path of knowledge, path of wisdom by which you know that pure self and you get out of this birth and death cycle. But I don't know, you can check Bhagavan's lifetime. All the people around were his devotees, if you see. They were always looking for his grace. I'll give you a very simple example. When a situation arises in life, how much you stay in that contentment rather than jumping and doing something and getting restless, and that means there is no faith in that absolute who has planned this life for you. When good things happen, you're okay. When bad things happen, then you don't trust God. Then you come into your mode, driving mode. Now I will take control. This God has no clue. I like him, but I can't trust him. Now I have to do something about it. God is good, but I am better. What is this? We all do this. We don't even wait for the consequences of whatever situation is unfolding, what will be the end result. We just jump out in this doership mode. And we lose all this silence which we were building. It was coming to us, we were opening to it. and then we destroy everything. As the people make those Lego toys or all those things, scramble and put one hand and then just get it finished. It's like sand in a castle. You make something and you're destroying yourself. One step up, two step backward. That pure energy, whatever way it comes to you, conserve it. We have to keep it to our heart. Allow it to grow. The moment a situation arises and the situation knows, it is like a testing ground to us, whether we are still in surrender mode or we are still in doership. And it's nothing to do even with action you take with this body in a situation. It is your internal environment, how you take things. Do you take things personally, or do you take things as divine planning? This makes a huge difference in your own liberation. When we just start accepting things as they are, then that peace dawns on us. Then our help from these thoughts, from the ego mode, disappears. And then there is harmony in us and God, or that energy. It becomes one. It is always one. There is no difference between the two. Only thing is we have stepped down from that energy, from that presence. And then what we do is, from that ego mode to go that, we have to use some terms. We say witnessing. Let's do witnessing. But then who does witnessing? Then the one who's putting efforts is only at ego level we are doing witnessing. That witnessing is not going to give results of that peace, that bliss. That witnessing which is effortless and natural state of ours. So these efforts, whatever we do, we should do with humbleness and devotion, with a sense of surrender. If we start witnessing only agitations all the time, that means we are too much attracted to things around us. That's why there is agitation happening. Yes, it will happen because our attachment doesn't go all of a sudden. We have invested so much. But when you start realizing this truth, when you start feeling that bliss, that peace, by putting these efforts, your faith grows. People talk about God. Some says there is no God. And we read God is everywhere. And a sage says God is everything, God is everywhere. And then we as blind people don't see him anywhere. We only see war and crime and suffering. And then we say God is ruthless. We don't see. Because we are using this glasses colored with our mind. We are looking in a wrong direction. When we bring our energy to the heart, then you don't miss him anywhere. Then your perception is completely different. But if we want to see God and keeping our ego intact, it will never happen. I want to know one person in the world who has known God by efforts. Whether you call it self inquiry, whether you call it mindfulness, meditation, yoga, no one. All these methods are to get nearer to Him so He can open the door of heart and get you in to receive that grace. When a person keep doing, putting efforts and whatever he understands with his little knowledge, reading books, attending things, and at some stage he thinks, I am helpless. God, you save me, you take me. I have no clue. And then it happens. It's not that he's merciless, he wants you to be like that. But understand this duality we have created. We have the world, this whole world is made up of only worldly people, achievers who have achieved things by efforts. And the whole world then praises these people that yes, with efforts you have achieved. And so we think we will achieve God only by those same way. I'll tell you again, to know God is to be God. There is no other way. To be self is to be that only, nothing else. It is not an entity, it is not a form, it's not an object which you can touch and you can say, yes, now I know it. It is you. You know the spider, it emits, spreads web. It's not outside, it comes from inside. And then spider gets entangled in it. Exactly the same way mind is projecting from within, creating all this situation, things, beings, as a person, as a body and other bodies. Exactly the way it happened last night with you in a dream, which you thought was real and there are real people and then you were separate. Same thing is happening now. So recede from it. Thoughts coming and going, situations changing, people coming in your life, objects gaining, losing. Understand who are you. The moment you put this question deeply, who am I? It takes you to that silence, that peace within you. Once you recede completely and you stay without mind, you know the truth. Sun shines from inside. Then illusion appears as moon appears when the sun is shining. You know, early morning sometimes moon is still there, but sun is bright. Then the effect of moon is nothing. When the sun of yourself shines, then this mind, which is now like a moon in daylight, has no effect. Now it cannot scare you. You have receded from that. Now you don't need any method. And only grace can bring you here. And understand meaning of grace. Grace is that self which reveals itself to you when you stop functioning from that ego mode. So this much effort you need to put. Stop functioning from that selfish ego mode. If you stop functioning there, that energy will pull you, because you are not doing anything at that level. And there are not you two. The one actor which was behaving, acting, doing, achieving, suffering, is not interested in that role playing, then the role disappears. Because we have given energy in the past for our desires. So thoughts are coming. And I trust you that you're not giving any more energy to anything. You're just wants to get rid of what previous desires have given momentum and thoughts are coming. Just be. Have some tolerance to these thoughts now, and they will soon disappear. Have faith. If that God has brought you up to this level of understanding, then it will make sure that you abide in that pure self. Trust this silence more than any technique. If you ask me what was Bhagavan's method, Bhagavan's method was silence and grace. Method of self-inquiry was for a bit dumb people. People came to Bhagavan, they sat and they left. They never talked to Bhagavan. And they got what they wanted and they left. And nobody knows them. They merged with that absolute. It is so easy, so simple. Our mind, our ego makes it so difficult. You know, one of the devotees of Bhagavan was Sadhu Om. So Sadhu Om came to Bhagavan during last years of his life. Last 5 years he stayed with Bhagavan. He was a self-realized. So someone asked him, come that you got realization within 5 years? He said, I am also wondering that. I am so full of shame. Why it took me 5 years when it would have taken only 5 seconds? That means I was not that mature, that good devotee, a good student. It took me 5 years. While the questioner was asking the other way, for the questioner, 5 years is nothing. But for an ardent seeker, 5 years is too much. I met a person who told me with pride that he goes to Vipassana. He's going for last 20 years, every year for 10 days. Actually, I was shocked that if for 20 years you couldn't change going to Vipassana 10 days staying in silence, there's something wrong in your practice. Because if you have decided to dissolve, then what is stopping you? Either you're a hypocrite, you just pretend that you're dissolving, but you have so much at stake, you don't want to give up your mental possessions. You're just pretending. And this pretending can continue for millions of years. Nothing will happen. Like a stone. If you have a heart, feel that melting. Don't be rigid. Have some devotion, have some faith. Because that self, that God is within every human being. I know some people, they write to me personally, please don't use this word God. So much of ego. Using the word God is for them is like something, some higher power. They don't want to accept it. And they love the word self because that nurtures their ego. They think their ego is that self. What a foolishness. If you ask me, I don't like this word self because people take this self as their ego. That small self from which we operate. That is only ego. And to differentiate from that pure self, I believe the best term is God. What else is there? Where then you will fit this term God to? In this whole scheme of things, where would you put this word God? Because there is nothing else. If you put this God in somewhere middle, that means you are bigger than God. From that ego self, you are going to self, and God is somewhere in middle. So you want to keep him somewhere lower than you. You can use any term what you want in your life. I don't care. But keep that self at the highest pedestal. Love it and be that. No price is a heavy price to know that. If you think this life is so precious and I don't want to lose this and these are my friends and this is my job, you will be dust in 100 years. This is the time to awaken. not when you are dust. And I'm saying 100 years because that's the max most of the people a person can live. But you can die next moment, who knows? We have already wasted our life in so many things. Unless there is an urgency within to know the self, it's not going to happen. Lukewarm approach doesn't work here. It is all or none. That is why it is called as non-duality. Because there is only one, nothing else. If ego can find God or self, then it is duality. It never happens. It can never happen. And if it has happened in someone's case, then that person is a big fraud. He's fooling himself and others. Whatever practice you do, whatever you do in life, try to get that grace of God within you. He is the witness, He is the pure witness, none other than you. We all know, we praise God, we praise Lord, we know His qualities. Imbibe those qualities. They are your qualities. When you praise Lord, you are praising yourself, your pure self, untainted, uninvolved, eternal. Don't make that God so small that you will use a technique and you will get it, and then you can say, I've achieved it. Please don't make it so small. Then we are making it as a commodity. There is a silence in our heart which is speaking to us all the time, in waking, in dream, in sleep, in interaction with the word when we are alone. But we keep paying attention to our thoughts. And the word around us. If this is an effort, then put this effort to bring your attention to the silence within. Blissful silence. This pure silence is the essence of self in all of us. Om Shanti Shanti.